Finally, the Republic of South Africa, it have given its official position on the ICC arrest warrant against the Russian President Vladimir Putin. This arrest warrant, which was launched by the International Criminal Court, it was welcomed by Americans, though they are not part of this ICC. Americans, with its alliance, NATO countries, what they've been doing so far, they have tried to influence their media to put pressure on South Africa so that they can get to release or arrest Vladimir Putin in his arriving in South Africa. The Russian president is expected to attend the BRICS summit late this year in August. But it was about time South Africa, we get to give the message out there to the world about our positions. And here is what Minister Naledi Pandor had to say.
You would see, Minister, that there's a great deal of media interest in our meeting because there are some who don't wish us to have relations with an old historical friend. We have made it clear that Russia is a friend, and we've had cooperative partnerships for many, many years, including partnerships as we combated the apartheid regime, which decimated our people and our country. And while we are friends with many all over the world, we cannot become sudden enemies at the demand of others.
Yes, we cannot become sudden enemy in demands of others. I'm loving this already. Do you know why? Because this is the kind of message South Africa needs to send out to the world, especially for the African continent. That was not all. The former President Thabo Mbeki came out with a solution that South Africa will need to apply. Here's what he said.
Many countries are saying, in order to avoid this consequence of the imposition of sanctions by the United States on the basis that you are using their currency, in order to avoid the consequences of sanctions that arise from that, let's walk away from the dollar. And hence there's a global discussion taking place about that, and some of it is bilateral. When Russia trades with China, there's no reason why they must use dollars to exchange. None. And so that even India is saying the same thing. So globally, there's a discussion that is taking place to say we must find alternative means of trading among ourselves and not subject ourselves to the situation where there's one currency in the world which becomes the global reserve currency, because it gives the country that is the issuer of the money, that's the United States, it gives it the power to impose its will on everybody because you are depending on it.
This is what Africans need to hear from South Africa. When we get to send this kind of message out there to the world, it is a way of telling them that, look, we are old enough now, we are mature enough to understand your games. We are aware of your games, how you do things, how you like to impose your leadership on other countries, how you like people to do things according to your ways. You know, these people, they always come with the same stories. Democracy, we want this to be respect, we want human rights, this and that to be done. But yet, it always have to go in their advantage. If it does not go in their advantage, then they consider you as an enemy. We have seen that as Africans. We saw it even here in Africa, how they get to fight each and every Pan-Africans who had something good or good ideas about Africa. Guys, before I even get to talk more about the whole scenario, here I want to play you a video which I'm inviting you to pay more attention. It is about what happened recently in Uganda. The Ugandan parliament, they had voted a law for the death penalty against people who are committing, should I say, homosexuality, you know, like gay and lesbian things. And we all know for some times now that those things they are not allowed in Uganda, but this time they take it to the higher level of putting a death penalty to every individuals as long you are above 18 years. If they find you, then you will be considered to suffer the death penalty. Now, this law have passed in the parliament. It has about the president of the Republic of Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni, to sign for this new law. When this reached to the international media, the same people, when we're talking about same people, we see NATO, we see Americans, we see his alliance, France, Ukraine, all of them as you know them. They start putting pressure on Uganda government that no, you can't do it. Forgetting that Uganda, it is a sovereign country. When we're talking about sovereign country, you are free to do what is good for your people. And no one should come and impose their leadership on you. No one should not come and tell you how to do things. Yet, these same people, they went all the way to start putting pressure on the Ugandan government and President Museveni to not sign or allow for this law to take place. As Ugandan, they did not want to give up. They did not want to listen to what Americans and his alliance they've been saying. Well, Americans, they want to threaten. They start threatening Uganda government, saying that this is going to affect your economy. And the Ugandan did not listen to. As we're speaking right now, they have taken some decisions to sanctions the Republic of Uganda. Without delay, I just want you to watch this video, then we'll continue after then.
A coalition of international companies, including Google and Microsoft, have denounced the anti-LGBTQ legislation passed by Uganda's parliament last week. The Open for Business coalition said the bill, which criminalizes identifying as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or queer, would damage Uganda's economy by curbing investment flows and deterring tourists. Yvonne Mutoni is the coalition's country director in neighbouring Kenya.
It puts businesses in an impossible situation. Either they violate the law in Uganda or they are going against international standards of corporate responsibility, as well as human rights laws of the countries in which they are headquartered.
Among the coalition's members, Google, MasterCard, Unilever, Standard Chartered, PwC and Deloitte all have operations in Uganda. Uganda's information minister was not immediately available for comment. The bill imposes the death penalty for those who commit so-called aggravated homosexuality. That's defined as same-sex relations with people under the age of 18 or when the perpetrator is HIV positive, among other categories.
We will have our morals.
The legislation is currently awaiting President Yoweri Museveni's signature. He's not yet commented on it, though he signed a similar law in 2014 that provoked international condemnation before it was voided by a domestic court on procedural grounds. Last week, the United States described the bill as concerning and one of the most extreme actions taken against the LGBTQ community in the world.
There you go. As always, Americans, they are threatening Ugandan economy by using their big companies such as Google and MasterCard to denounce this new law that Ugandan are about to release. See the kind of people we are having. So, it is all about what pleases them. And if they are against something, then this is how they have to threaten you. We saw it, they did it with Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, as we're speaking until today, they're still on sanctions. A sanctions which has been imposed by them. Regardless of on how we get to see different presidents in Africa get to plead in the United Nations about Zimbabwean sanction to be relieved. Until now, they are not doing nothing. We saw President of the Republic of Congo, President Tshisekedi, plead in behalf of Zimbabwe. We saw President Ramaphosa with the ANC. They plead several times about the ANC. We saw the president of Senegal. This man also plead about Zimbabwe. Many presidents in Africa, they have plead for these sanctions to be removed. But yet they don't want, because they know that they are having a good way of imposing their leadership. And this is what they're trying to do with Uganda as well. They're trying to attack Uganda by threatening the economy, so that if Ugandan they decide to go ahead with this new law, then they must expect that Google is not going to be there, MasterCard is not going to be there, and I believe there will be even more sanctions. But they are going for the basic things where they know that once we do this, Ugandan will be suffering economically. And this is what they've been doing all over the world. Now, the question is, but why? Why do you have to impose the whole world to do things in your way that you don't even want to get to listen to what are their point of the view? Guys, again here, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. But the message is a very strong here. The message is loud and clear. Seeing Ugandan coming out in their numbers and trying to stand against these Americans and the NATO country who are trying to impose what they think about this new law is a way of showing a message out there that, no, look, we are in Africa continent. We are free to live our life. We are free to do what pleases us. What you guys, you find normals and you normalize it in your countries, we don't have to say yes if we don't feel like saying yes. And that is how democracy works, isn't it? Guys, if you are joining us, please make sure that you hit that like button. I'll really do appreciate, okay? Give me thumbs up, guys. Support us. We'll really do appreciate that. Comment also down below. Tell us also what you are thinking about what we're discussing, okay? We don't need to feel like we are talking to ourselves, but we want to feel like we are talking to someone out there who's also interested in this topic. Thank you for those who are busy doing so. We really do appreciate. Let's continue, guys. So, as I was saying, the message is loud and clear. Africans, they get now to understand where we've been, where we're coming from, where we are, and where we want to be tomorrow. So this NATO country, they've been trying everything by all means to make sure that they impose their leadership on the world. And especially recently, in the war in Ukraine, it have changed things around. It have made people to show the true face, people to try to denounce what Americans, the so-called democracy country, what they've been doing around the world. People, they have understand their games. And people, they don't want even to get involved in these things of Ukraine and Russia. So, therefore, they are trying by all means to start trying to, putting a lot of pressure as we get to see how they are doing with us, South Africa. Trying to impose us, telling us that, no, look, if Putin arrives in your country, you have to arrest him according to the international laws. Yet, the same international laws that they want South Africa to believe in, them, they do not believe in it. They did not sign for the ICC. If you go in the ICC countries, Americans, they are not in. In our previous video, we had a conversation with you. We told you some of the reasons why Americans refuse to join this ICC, International Criminal Court. It was for the obvious reasons, because they've been violating the right of other people, the right of human out there. And if they have to sign in, which means they'll have to answer in the same way as other countries, they have to answer to this ICC. Well, besides Uganda trying to stand on their principles, I want you to watch this video. This video was taken in Zambia by Zambians who are busy protesting against Kamala Harris, who have to arrive in Zambia. I mean, she's expected to be in Zambia. And this time, obviously, is to go there and impose another democracy, which Zambians, as Africans, they have understood that we don't need someone to come from somewhere to come and show us how to live in democracy. And they have get to understand that Americans' democracy, it is good only to harm other countries. Americans' democracy never do any good to any country around the world. So in this video, they try to even explain that Americans with their democracy, wherever they go in the world, we don't get to see that democracy. Instead, we get to see those countries being split aside, and economically and anything. There's nothing good in brief about American democracy. Here's what these people have to say.
As you know, Kamala Harris is coming to Zambia. But from our point of view, we are not happy with her visit. And why we are not happy is because, you know, whilst America is talking about this democracy, they are talking about this democracy, but the American democracy has done more harm than good to a number of countries, especially the third world countries like Zambia. So we don't think that America can champion this democracy, the democracy according to what we want. The Americans superimpose their democracy on us. They superimpose their democracy on us and their social culture as well as other values. We are saying we don't want American superimposition of democracy on Zambia. We as Zambians, though our democracy is young, but we can practice, we can self-rule ourselves. We don't need America to come and tell us how we should rule ourselves. We don't need America. America cannot come and teach us about democracy when their democracy has waged many wars throughout this world, hundreds of wars, and they have killed a number of leaders, African leaders. Some of the leaders that they have killed is like the Pan-African leader, Muammar Gaddafi. They killed him in cold blood using Libyan indoctrinated citizens. Americans gave arms to Libya so that they can kill their own leader. And they are saying that is democracy. How can that be democracy? Honestly, how can that be democracy? They went into Iraq. They killed Saddam Hussein in the guise of planting democracy. And yet, Muammar Gaddafi didn't have even the nuclear wars that they were talking about. And look what has remained of Iraq. Look what has remained in Libya. That is not the democracy we want. We want a democracy.
Well, his message is loud and clear, isn't it? Because we get to understand that Zambia, they have understood the game of Americans with its alliance. And as African country, they have come to understand that we are on our own. So they are joining this same march that South Africa, we've been doing so far now. They are joining the same message that Zimbabwe have sent out there. The same message as Uganda they're trying to send out there. The same message that Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Ghana, they are trying to send out there to say that, leave us. If it's about democracy, I believe the true democracy, it will come within African themselves and not you coming to impose your leadership every time when you disagree with someone. You want things to only go in your way. If something goes against your way, then you have to do, because we all know that is what is happening right now in Russia, isn't it? The same thing that is happening between Russia and NATO. It is very simple. NATO provoked Russia, and they try to use Ukraine as a the middle field so that they will go and fight over there. Russia trying to protect his integrities, his territories, and yet they're trying to make Russia look as a bad country or a bad person out there to the world. And if the world did not know of what this country have done as harms to other countries in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, in African countries, if the world did not open their eyes to look the history, then I believe by this time Russia was not going to still have any support in the United Nations. Because their mission, they only want, when they want to vote something against Russia, they expect the whole countries that are in the countries that are in presence, they must vote against Russia. And yet Russia still have his alliance, or should I say countries that get to support him. Africa continent, they are supporting Russia. Many countries in Asia, they're supporting Russia, because they have understood that we can't just keep saying yes to everything that some people keep on coming and saying to us, because it's like they're imposing you what to say and you have to say. It's like we're in church where the pastor gets to say hallelujah, and the only things you have to respond back is amen. They're asking you, jump. Then you say, Master, how high do you want me to jump? That is wow. I mean, that is how Americans want the world to look like. And democracy does not work like that. Democracy, you need to get time to sit down and get to listen to other people, what they have to say. The war between the Russians and Ukraine, I mean the conflict. South Africa, I remember President Ramaphosa came forward to speak in behalf of South Africa. That us as a South Africa, we're saying that there's no need for you to be harsh on Russia. There's no need for you to engage making these things becoming long. Sit on the table. Get to listen to what Russia have to say. Come up with a solution. They never even apply that. They never even do it. Instead, they're rejecting all the proposal that Russia alliances such as China, South Africa, India, Brazil, and Africa continent, and many countries in the world that they don't want these games. They refuse all their proposal. The only things they want is what they're proposing. You guys will get to see recently in our previous video, I spoke about it. Russia and China, they get to sign a serious deal, like to strengthening up their friendship or relationship, should I put it in that way. And as they were doing all this, in meantime, China have succeeded to bring Ukraine to the table for the negotiation. You know what happened? Americans, they stood and saying to Ukraine, to another sovereign country, that we are not going to allow you to go and sit to the table to negotiate with Russia when China is there. That is another sovereign country that they're supposed to respect also their right. So now, don't you see that it's more obvious, it is more open that it is Americans who's fighting Russia here, but wearing the mask of Ukraine. That is the reason why when I get to see people complaining about what is happening in Ukraine and everything, yes, it's touchable, but still, people who are supposed to stop this conflict, they're the one who are doing everything in their power. It's like there's a fire. Instead of killing the fire, but you keep on making that fire to become even more stronger. Americans, they're accusing Chinese at the moment, saying that no, apparently China's, they are busy supplying some weapons to Russia. They're accusing China without having proof, right? But them, they are doing it official in the open eye that everyone gets to see. They are supplying Ukraine with drones, with weapons, with rockets, with bombs, anything. Anything. They are doing it in the open eyes, like no ID, no what. So what is now the problem if China does the same to Russia? You see now why I'm saying that this is what they are all about. Everything them they do, it is normal. If other country does it, it become illegal. Recently, I was listening to one of the local radio. They were interviewing the USA ambassador in South Africa, they were busy asking him questions about these things. And one of the audience asked the question, says that, no, you guys, we saw what you did in Yemen. We saw what you did in Afghanistan. We saw what we did with Ben Laden, with Saddam Hussein. We saw what we did in Iraq, in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi. We saw what you guys have been doing. And today you are with Russia. Everything you say, you do. You say that, no, it is democracy. Democracy, the right of what need to be respected. But you guys, you kill in the name of democracy. You commit serious crimes in the name of democracy. You violate other countries' rights in the name of democracy. How do you find all this normal? Do you know that the guy in charge, he could not be able to give a proper explanation about it? That is the problem. You know what is giving them the power? Because the thing is that there's something that is giving them the power. Because it can't be possible for you to go and impose your leadership on other countries, and the other countries, they have just to obey. See what happened recently in the United Nations conferences. They went there. They imposed sanctions. They threatened all the countries that are supporting Russia, that they will be putting sanctions against them. They will put sanctions against them. And when we get to look sanctions, it's the same thing that they are doing in Zimbabwe, the same thing that they are trying to do in Uganda, by, for example, stopping MasterCard so that the transactions must not be that easy for you to transfer money from one country to another country. They're trying to stop Google so that you're not going to be able to communicate with the rest of the world. So they have some things which they make sure that they are the only one who can have it in the world. So that once you guys are using their tools, whenever you go against them, they'll use those tools to fight you with. Google, macro, what, all the internet, all those things you know. So, guys, the question now is to know what is the solution in all this. Before I get to give you my point of view, there is a man, a Pan-African, our former president, Thabo Mbeki. He suggested a solution. This solution is spoken in behalf of South Africa. But when I get to look at it, I'm like, no, this is not only have to concern us as South Africans. Instead, it should concern each and every African. Let's have listened to what Thabo Mbeki had suggested as a solution to this problem.
Many countries are saying, in order to avoid this consequence of the imposition of sanctions by the United States on the basis that you are using their currency, in order to avoid the consequences of sanctions that arise from that, let's walk away from the dollar. And hence there's a global discussion taking place about that, and some of it is bilateral. When Russia trades with China, there's no reason why they must use dollars to exchange. None. And so that even India is saying the same thing. So globally, there's a discussion that is taking place to say we must find alternative means of trading among ourselves and not subject ourselves to the situation where there's one currency in the world which becomes the global reserve currency, because it gives the country that is the issuer of the money, that's the United States, it gives it the power to impose its will on everybody because you are depending on the dollar.
Well, tell me, what do you think about that? Isn't it that is a brilliant idea that we should consider? Because, as I said earlier on, these people, they are trying to impose their leadership to each and every country around the world. It is because they have something to use against you. It is because they have something they feel that with this one, they're not going to last for so long. They're not going to move. They're still going to need us. They enjoy it. Get to see when African leaders, they're trying to beg in behalf of Zimbabwe to remove the sanctions which they had imposed, wrongly imposed against Zimbabweans. The moment they keep on begging them, they enjoy that. They feel like, wow, yes, we got them here. As Julius Malema had said, I got you here. Guys, so you see, they enjoy these kind of things. They enjoy it a lot. They want to have something to use against you. So what the former President Thabo Mbeki suggests here, it is something that we need to consider as number one. Before anything, before we talk about Google, Microsoft, Apple, all those big companies that you know, the currency, cancel the US dollar, create our own currency, international currency, make the US dollar lose the power in the world, make the pounds euro lose power, whereby we get to trend only within ourselves. When I'm talking about ourselves, it's like Africa continent, Asia continent, each and every country that is fed up with these Americans. We take that currency, we start trading it among ourselves. Then we'll see what else they'll use against you. We'll see again who's going to go on the media or sending different letters in different summit talking about, oh, South Africa, they should respect the international law. South Africa, they should respect what they had signed for. What they had signed for? You asking me to arrest my own person? I mean, don't you know that if South Africa, we have to arrest Vladimir Putin, automatically we become enemies in just to sanctify NATO countries who are so desperate to see Putin going down. So South Africa, we have to sacrifice our long-term relationship with Russia on demand, for demand of other countries. It does not work like that. I don't think those countries, they can do the same. I don't think so. Though there's international laws which are sitting there, they don't respect, they never even respect those laws before. They never did. So I'm so proud, I'm so happy with the Minister Naledi, because an outcome on media, it had really proven that South Africa, regardless of on how good friendship we have with Americans, at the same time we need to remind them that, no, look, we are not afraid of you. We're not going to let you guys to hold us here so that we become like your puppets to get to do everything that you guys you want. It does not work like that. So I'm so proud of Minister and the South Africa government. We're still looking forward to see this kind of strong message coming out on the media, whether it is within the ANC. In the opposition, we can even count, even much with the EFF leader, Julius Malema. He had spoke about it very clear. Malema said, if it has to take that, we will go and fetch Vladimir Putin at the airport until wherever it's going to be going, and send him back again to the airport. We're going to do so. Those are the message that we need to send. If they want to arrest Vladimir Putin, let them do it in their countries, which I doubt Putin will show up there. Let them do it in other countries which are supporting their nonsense. Us, we're just tired. We can't be sitting every time and some people have to come and tell you how to live in your own house. No, guys, it does not work like that. Thank you so much for watching this video until now. It is very important. We really do appreciate your presence, guys. But before you leave, do me a favor. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel if this is your first time to watch our videos, because this is what we do on this channel. We look at the trending topic, we sit down and have a conversation and try to open each other eyes. We are not here to talk nonsense, but we are here to have a serious conversation. So if you find anything beneficial in this video, don't leave this channel without giving us your thumbs up. we really do appreciate. We also encourage you to join our membership partners who are supporting us with any little cent that they feel like providing for us. If you have not joined this team, please do so. We really do appreciate. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Dobsi Nyembe, for those who don't know me, and I'm here to keep you informed and entertained each and every time around this time, of course. But for now, continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.